I've got our carburetors completely stripped and ready to clean now. You see we've got all the jets, the float valves and everything out of them. All the mixture screws have all been removed. I've got those all kind of laid out here. Now what I also went ahead and done is on the float chamber covers, I went ahead and field stripped those, and I've got the O-rings out of the float chamber covers. I also have the drain screws, the float valves, and the O-rings that go on the low speed mixture screws. Basically anything that has rubber on it. You don't want to soak those in carburetor cleaner because it will completely ruin those rubber components. It'll make them swell up and you won't be able to reuse them. So I always take those parts, set them aside. So that leaves us with the float chamber covers, the floats themselves, and then all the brass jets, mixture screws, and so forth. So what we're going to do here is we're going to soak all of these parts here. We're going to soak them, let them set overnight, and then we'll clean them up. And this is what I use to clean my parts in. I just got a plastic container here. I'm going to put all those parts in there, and now I'm just going to put this lacquer thinner in there. And of course this stuff's highly flammable, so you don't want to keep this inside. It's got some pretty stout fumes on it. So what I'll do is I'll put all those parts in that container, put the lacquer thinner on it, then I'm going to cover it with a shop rag, and I've got a little board I'm going to set on that so it can allow it to ventilate, but it won't allow the lacquer thinner just to evaporate straight away. And then what I'll do is I'll take that outside of the shop and I'll set it kind of in a shady area, out of the way, away from any type of ignition source so we don't have a fire or anything. And we'll let those sit overnight and see if we can soak some of that varnish off of them. Now while all our jets and all of our other components are in the soak, I'm going to concentrate on cleaning the carburetor bodies, and what I use is just a standard spray carburetor cleaner. This happens to be Pt.7 I. But just any spray carburetor cleaner will do. And what I do is just kind of squirt some down into the jet openings so it can kind of be soaking in there. Squirt some down in the mixture screw, and we're going to put some down in here in the bi-starter jet and in the float valve. Just kind of spray around a little bit. And then I just take kind of this is a small wire brush. The bristles are pretty limber on it, so you don't have to worry about it damaging any of the brass or aluminum. And just kind of scrub around on there and loosen up any of that varnish and stuff that you can get at, and then we'll blow all that out with compressed air. Now one other thing I like to do on the float valves themselves, you don't really want to stick anything down in there because that's a very precise surface, and if you gouge it up, it's not going to seal off. And those aren't replaceable. That's pressed in there, and that's a permanent part of the carburetor. So what I do is squirt it with some carburetor cleaner and just take a Q-tip, stick that down in there, just work it back and forth. And look at there, all that varnish coming off. So just keep doing that until you get them as clean as you like them. And then we're going to flip it over and we're going to work on some passages on the other side of this carburetor. Now what we have here, these are your air bleed jets that pre-mix the fuel in the air before it goes up through the main jets of the carburetor. So we're also going to give them the same treatment. Just take your carburetor cleaner, just give them a good squirt. And we're also going to shoot some down into the main jet nozzle. There we go. And we'll let that soak for just a few minutes, and then we'll blow all those passages out with compressed air. And depending on how bad they are, I may do that 2 or 3 times. And then I'll just blow everything out real good, make sure all the passages are open and clean, and then we'll start cleaning up our jets and get ready to reassemble our carburetors. Well, our carburetors turned out really good. Got those cleaned up real good. Got all of our slides cleaned up, all the float bowls and the floats. Got all the jets and everything cleaned out. That turned out real well. That's a pretty good collection of parts right there. But we're just going to do these carburetors one at a time when we go back together with them, so it's not really going to be that big a deal. Now, one thing I did have to replace was some of the float valves. Now here's one of the ones that I'm going to reuse here. This one cleaned up real good. What you got to really watch for on these float valves is a couple of things. It's got this little spring-loaded plunger on the end of it. You want to make sure that plunger returns all the way. Now this one here, this is one of the ones that didn't make it. As you can see there, the plunger is stuck. It's so varnished up even after soaking it for a little while. It just didn't want to pop back out. And the varnish and stuff had gotten to the rubber on it, and the little rubber tip was coming off of it. So basically I'm going to replace the 3 on the left hand side. The 3 on the right side turned out real well. One other thing that I like to do with my carburetor jets, this is a special tool I keep in my toolbox. This is a Honda jet cleaner set. Now I'll put the part number down in the description there if you're interested in getting one. And basically what this is a set of indexed wires of different gauges that are specifically designed for cleaning carburetor jets. And as a matter of fact, they put a little range there on the back of it to tell you which number jet cleaner is designed for which particular jets you're working on. And that works really good because it's not like using a file or anything like that. They won't damage the jets, so you're not going to be resizing them or anything like that. And it works really good. Yeah, that's definitely a good tool to have in the box if you're going to be cleaning carburetors. All right, well, let's start putting these carburetors together.